Greg and myself. The first order of business is to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have some minutes set for the executive session.
No, it's crossed off.
Yeah, we just struck those for right now because we weren't 100% ready on those, so we're just gonna strike them for it.
Okay, with no. We have a section for public comments. Does anybody wish to speak with the board at this time?
Well, I do like to mention something that someone mentioned to me, which I consider important, is that they were at home and they were listening to the meeting. And they said that the fidelity was not clear and you couldn't hear you guys. So I don't know if there's any way to make sure that someone monitors these things so that the folks in television land who can't come out to see us for whatever reason, they can get a real representation rather than saying that they can't hear it and they lose interest. So that's one point.
Yeah, we've had that comment before. We've fiddled around with some of these stuff, but
it's only when it's
Peg access.
live.
Peg access is
You go on
towards that and the
YouTube
other
the next
issues.
day, you can hear everything.
I can check right now.
what?
It should be live, let me check.
The last meeting, I couldn't come up, and I don't usually watch them live, and you couldn't understand a word you were saying.
Okay.
I
Part
thought
of-
that's useless.
Yeah, part of, at the special town meeting, some of the PEG access fund we released were to look into that specifically and getting some of the games on from the schools. So
Okay.
that's what the access funds we released for, to try to get this cleaned up and to try to, I think there was something with the sources of media, the type
I
of
know
media.
something
I'm not gonna claim to know, but
Yeah,
the
because it
one,
was terrible.
audio, video versus digital versus however it goes out and
I thought maybe
Yeah.
they'd clear it up the next day, but it was.
oh, it's not gonna be an overnight issue. It's gotta be a hardware, a change,
it
device
was the
change
way
and
it
things.
was recorded.
It will get there, but it's not gonna,
But I would think they could check it when it first starts, the meeting, to see if the sound is clear.
Typically they do. But if there's any sort of issue between the live feed and how they're hearing it and the way it's being broadcast through cable, then that's not gonna be picked up unless a resident says that they can't hear it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
once we get that complaint, then we'll forward it to our cable access to have them look into it.
Could you maybe put on the screen a phone number to call if the sound isn't right, so people could call right away?
Should they have to
Let
make
me
the
talk,
request?
let me talk to the cable access guy to see if he's willing to field those
Because
calls.
you know,
That's
otherwise.
It should be easy enough for them to do, yes.
Yeah, if they can't hear it.
But we do know it's an issue, and that's what's been brought up before, and that's why part of the access funds, we authorize it to go towards that. That's exactly why, because of that complaint. We're trying to get it fixed. Hopefully it does. And I've watched some meetings in the past afterwards, and they're clear.
Yeah,
But it sounds like it's more of a random that you don't hear it than, I don't think it's an ongoing issue as far as all the meetings you don't get good audio. I just think it happens randomly, and I don't know why. But
It's working fine right now.
Yep. Dennis?
that's
It's
good.
working fine right now.
Okay.
well, the last meeting you couldn't.
No, I understand that, I was just saying, it's working fine right now.
Okay.
So
And
that
it
when
comes in
isn't-
okay on YouTube?
It's fine on YouTube, yeah.
Okay. Alrighty.
I have something else.
Okay.
Is that I noticed they were some company came and was pulling out telephone poles, and I'm speaking specifically at pole number 16, which is on West Street.
Mhm.
And they took out one short pole, and they didn't fill the hole. So I called Mass Electric on 2 occasions, and of course it was snowing, and I don't know what happened today, but did someone from the town direct a group to come around and take the poles out? Or is that something they're just doing for their own maintenance? I was just concerned about one of my tenants, or maybe somebody walking by, walking into that hole and hurt themselves, and then we have a problem. So I just wanted to bring it to someone's attention.
So any of the utility work usually falls directly on the utilities. We don't schedule any of that work for them unless we get a specific complaint to ask for them to look into. Typically, National Grid's in charge of setting poles, and Verizon is in charge of removing them because they're the lowest on the pole. So I just have to contact
All
the
I've done
Verizon.
is, I've called National Grid
Okay.
on 2 occasions and filed some sort of a notice that there's a big hole there, that's all. And I don't know if it's that way all over town, but it clearly is at pole number 16.
Okay.
Okay, did anybody else have anything they wish to bring up with the board at this time? Okay. Okay. You see, we have our Council on Aging Director here. I assume that's for the discussion with Hardwick? Okay. And they'll be showing up? Okay. Okay, solar development issues. Andrew, did you have anything you wish to?
Something that Matt and I were discussing about putting on the agenda. We don't have a full presentation really to put together on it yet, but what we were looking at doing was basically, you know, if we do decide that this is something that we want to go forward with on West Street, I'm still pulling a little bit of information about the actual site. That we would do it under Chapter 30B and look to do a do a solicitation for engineers specific to this type of development, and have some sort of screening committee to actually go through the engineer RFP proposals to select the correct person for us. So I just want to give you that update as far as where we were, and I know that Matt wanted to discuss it a little bit more. So I guess the next meeting we can dive into that a little bit, but that's kind of where we're at as far as that goes.
Okay. Why don't you explain a little bit for everybody what the 30B refers to? So
30B refers to disposition, or would refer to the disposition of real property. So we'd be looking at entering into a lease agreement on town-owned property for a site that we specify, and basically we would be relying on an engineer to kind of provide a outline of what could go there, and then once the town selects a developer and enters into a lease program with them, that engineer would basically represent the town to make sure that it's installed in a way that is beneficial to the town and not, you know, just by any means necessary.
Okay. Okay, so what would you like from us?
Nothing for right now.
Okay.
It's just an update as far as where we're at, what we're looking into, and ongoing process.
Yep.
That is
We talked about a couple of sites, one down by the town barn and one obviously up on Town Farm Road, and if possible locations. Then we'll
Yeah, just got to solicit as much information as we can about those sites before going out, so that way any potential bidder would have as much information on that as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Are these sites compliant with the zoning board's proposed bylaws?
That would still be part of the package that we have to put together, I believe, but I couldn't guarantee with any sort of certainty at this point.
Well, if they're not, I wouldn't go too far with it.
Exactly. So,
You have some questions, Charlie, out there? There's questions out on the floor. There's questions on the floor if you want to address them.
Okay. Sam?
Sam,
Well,
Dennis.
I thought, I don't want to tell you guys what to do, but I thought that once the solar bylaw was established, which it is, that we would just open up all the town-owned land that we might consider utilizing for solar, and bring this information to the attention of companies out there who are looking to do business on a large scale. Now, most recently, I didn't realize it, but I was involved from the outside when the public safety building was being thought of and designed and planned. And I was at quite a few meetings, but not as a committee member, just as an observer. And I brought to their attention the fact, before they even built it, before they even designed it, that the state of Massachusetts had just completed or was completing a building net zero. Everybody understands what net zero is?
Mhm.
So I pleaded and fought and discussed and passed out pamphlets and did all sorts of stuff to try to get that building to be net zero, because that's only sensible. I recently found out that the electric bill in that building for a whole year was $30,000. So I can't imagine building a building now for a town and not have some sort of solar connection. So when we use this opportunity, now that we have a solar bylaw, to open up this town for solar, I think that some connection should be made for the public safety building, so that doesn't become a liability, which it is now. And with solar, it can be not a liability.
When you're negotiating a solar agreement, you're negotiating a price per megawatt. Same way that you are when you're going to a Constellation Energy or buying it directly through National Grid. So you're still, typically it's a shorter, it's a lower amount than what the current rate is. I mean, typically 8 cents a kilowatt versus 10 cents. So it would be savings, but we currently kind of have that agreement with, I think, about 70% of what our usage is right now with a site that isn't even in Barry. So we don't not utilize solar, but we, that's really what the benefit to that building would be. It wouldn't be a net zero cost. It would be a reduced cost using solar generated S-rings.
Yeah, well,
The only way to significantly
too-
reduce it is to own the
but
solar.
it's
We're not
too
gonna
late.
own the solar at this
But I'm saying
point.
it's too late on that building, but it could have been designed. I didn't realize it was costing us $30,000, and that's a lot of money for electricity.
Mhm.
So now we have to think about how we're gonna do it. We have, Dina and Dolly put up a system, whatever they're making, it's profitable. There's a system on West Street. Whatever the company is making is profitable. There's a system on South Street, the same thing. There's a system by the Sportsman's Club. Whatever they're doing there, there's a profit there. Why can't the town participate in profits like that, but as a town?
Well, the
And
profit's
ju-
in the lease. That's what we're talking about, is leasing the property.
So my question to you is, why can you not go to concerns who do business in Massachusetts and offer to lease them our land and do business?
Because we're talking about having an engineer represent our interests, so that way somebody doesn't just come in here and do whatever they want to do.
But it takes some time to find it takes time to hire an engineer. Right now, at least we can show the public that we're interested in doing business,
Mhm.
because the only one who are doing business are the private people.
Private doesn't have as much regulatory governance than
Right,
the
and
public sector.
and if the town does have regulatory governance, that's
Mhm.
understandable.
Right.
But can't we bring in somebody in the next meeting to discuss this? Have an open meeting with an engineer or with a person who?
I've already outlined what my plan is, so that's the way we're going to proceed.
But it's gonna take a long time,
It
isn't
is.
it?
Thank you for the input, Sam.
Thank you.
We're looking into that, actually. We have one more back there, Charlie. Dennis wants to have some say. Charlie, Dennis wants to ask questions.
You
Well,
got Dennis?
Andrew, did I hear you correctly that you mentioned West Street for a possible?
No, I mentioned Town Farm Road.
I thought I heard you say West
You said
Street.
something about West Street.
I'm sorry if I said West Street, about
Yeah, I
Town Farm.
picked up on
I
that.
think it's, I don't know why, I must have just, Sam had just
Okay.
mentioned West Street, and I have it written down in front of me, so that's probably why. But no, Town Farm Road was the site that, near, by the,
The old dump.
The old landfill?
yeah, the old landfill area.
Okay.
Behind the senior center.
Okay, let's,
Okay.
do you have anything else you wanted to add? No, okay. Certifying the useful life on the fire.
Yep, so we just have a piece of paper in here that basically, that you guys are certifying that piece of
In our
apparatus,
packets.
the minimum lifespan is 30 years. That is sent to the bond company that will allow us to roll that ban for 10 years rather than 5. So,
That's what this is.
yes.
Okay. Okay, we need a motion on that.
Yep.
Okay,
Let me read it.
right here. There you go.
And the purpose of determining the maximum useful life is,
So that way we can, so typically with a bond, or a ban, maximum amount of years that you can roll a ban is 5. But if you determine that if you determine that the length, or the useful life of the apparatus is long enough to justify a longer ban, you can take that motion. We're looking to do a 10-year ban roll, so that way we're effectively paying this off in 10 years rather than 5 years.
well, I certainly think we have, most of our fire trucks are more than 30 years old. Do we have anything that tells us the service life of it that we're doing this? Is that
We're
specific?
just, this is basically, we're stating that our interpretation is that we're going to have this piece of apparatus for 30 years. That is the intent of the board in its purchases, by purchasing a piece of apparatus that's gonna last us this long.
Well, that's the idea of going new instead of used, it lasts longer.
Mhm.
I hope we can sell it to someone else and get a new one before then again, but I would expect the truck will last
Yeah.
30 years. I don't think that's,
Basically, it's that they want you to go out and bond or ask for a 10-year borrowing on something that's only gonna have a maximum useful life of 8 years, so.
my only concern is the statement of 30 years, it seems specific, and it's, well, it says maximum life of 30 years. Which, I mean, it wouldn't keep it beyond 30 years. I'm comfortable with it. I make a motion that we approve and sign this document, that the maximum useful life of the new engine to be purchased will be 30 years.
Okay, and I'll second that. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Aye?
Aye. Okay, I guess. Okay, we have for discussion, if need be. Notice here from Tom Donahue, who's on the Cannabis Bylaw Review Committee, that he has a conflict of interest, and I'll read the particular matter, and they're up here for review after the meeting if someone wants to take a look at it. We have another one to read, but this kind of sums it up. I was a former board member of CPC Barry, a cannabis business that has brought proposals in front of the town of Barry regarding conducting cannabis-related business in the town, and have represented their interests in front of authority boards in the recent past. A business that I own conducts business with CPC Barry and other businesses owned by CPC, principal partners and board members. My financial interest in this matter is that if particular cannabis bylaws are adopted by the townspeople, my business might have the opportunity to do business with these businesses. And that is just a public disclosure. We don't have to take any action on that at this time.
No.
Am I correct?
You have to make a determination as the appointing official.
Okay.
Yeah.
My recommendation, we put Tom on the committee, was because he was biased towards the favorable side of this. Just as my recommendation for Neekers, she's biased opposed to marijuana.
Mhm.
So it was intentional on my behalf to make sure we had somebody that's a proponent for marijuana on the committee and somebody who's opposed to it. So I understand that and accept his conflict. I understand his there before I asked that he sit on the committee.
So under the determination, it'll be determination by appointing authority. They do just have that. You've determined that the financial interest is not so substantial as to be deemed likely to affect the integrity of the services which the municipality may expect from the employee.
Dennis?
Isn't there a difference between Mrs. Jenkins, I think is her last name?
Can you speak a little louder?
I believe Mrs. Jenkins, who is Neeker, works for a nonprofit and is not in business to make money with Q Drug.
Correct.
Mr. Donahue is in business to make money. Will
Correct.
these things divulge to your members before you agreed to approve them to be on that committee? Or was this done after the fact?
This form came in after the fact.
Did Mr. Donahue tell you that he worked for that organization before?
Yes.
So you knew that beforehand?
We knew that. He's making an official disclosure, and as I said, that was part of why I requested, when he gave his background and said he's worked with them, with the CPC in the development of this, and been to their meetings. I already knew that, but he did state that, and that's part of why I stated I want to have. The idea of the committee isn't to make the bylaws. They're not making any bylaws.
No, that's our job.
They're making, right.
Right.
They're here to make recommendations to us. So to make sure the board hears all sides, I wanted to make sure we got a pro and a con in their ear on that committee. So to have Mr. Donahue, who I certainly think he's going to make sure that the supporters of marijuana have their voice heard, and Neeker's going to make sure the people opposed to it have their voice heard. And hopefully the rest of the members are someplace down the middle.
Let me ask a question then, if I may.
Yep, go ahead.
He's in business for marijuana, in a profit, working for what did you call it?
CPC.
It's Mr. Iandola's corporation, correct?
Yes,
Yep.
he does a lot of business with Mr. Andoya,
He's
as I
in business
understand.
with him as a for-profit for the marijuana trade. Mrs. Jenkins is not in business. She is a, I don't know, consultant. I don't even know what her title would be, but that is a non-profit organization. That's two spectrums. What about people that are just pro-marijuana that don't have a monetary stake in it? Is there anybody with that was appointed to that committee?
Don't know specifically. I don't think, most people didn't state pro or against marijuana. Chris Higgins did say he's not a user of marijuana, but he's there for the businessman perspective in town, how it correlates to other businesses. We have a gentleman,
He came to us on the planning board and was inquiring as to a business on the bottom of School Street North.
Mhm.
He owns property down there, and he was looking at possibly opening something up down there,
Mhm.
whether it was a testing lab or something like along those lines. And that was a while ago, so I think he was looking at being involved in the business aspect of it. But my concern was that, and it doesn't matter to me one way or the other, whether you are for or against it. I try to stay neutral with it. But my point was that I think that conflict of interest, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but I would have thought that that would have been brought out beforehand. Not that it would have made a difference in your decision making, because you want for, against, middle of the road, I don't care type of a group, so you're pretty well covered with everybody. It just seems.
I think it was clear beforehand, he's just making it official by putting it in writing.
That's all that is?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We very much understood his relationship with Mr. Iandoli and for the marijuana stuff. That's why I said we're trying to get an array, a spectrum of views into this. If they're gonna have any meaningful input of all the hours that your board and our board has put into these bylaws and zoning bylaws, if we're gonna get anything out of it, we need the public input and we need the whole spectrum. And that's why the first person I suggest is the last person that applied is someone that's sort of been a moderator for different groups before, looking at both sides and trying to find a happy medium. Hopefully someone like that can listen to it and listen to both sides and look at the bylaws and see where they might need to be moved to accommodate. And once that's done, we may accept or reject their recommendations. It's still, they have no monetary gain to this. It's just their ability to make the best recommendation to us. And I thought
Well, I
that gave us a better voice for the people.
I've written out documents like that before with certain things being on the planning and conservation boards. I understand the reasoning for it. It's actually to protect yourself and to protect the town, because if they're appointed onto a town committee, anytime there is a preponderance of evidence to say, well, he works for him, therefore I think he's gonna be biased. But if you propose on that statement that that's not gonna influence me one way or the other, that's the whole purpose of those forms. I just was curious if that was divulged beforehand. And I'm not saying anybody's doing anything underhanded, I wasn't aware, that's why I asked.
I'm sure that Tom's views represent hundreds of people. I'm sure that Nika's views represent hundreds of people. I'm sure that our I don't recall her name, from the senior population that came in, Jane, I'm sure she represents hundreds of people. And we've got people that are really representing large groups. And we have another, one of the guys has had issues with one of his employees in drug rehab in issues. That's a big thing for a lot of people around town. We have a lot of that. So I think we've really got some people in there that represent large portions of our community that have polarized opinions on this for one reason or the other. So I'm very happy with the committee we have. And I think it's our best chance to get a well-rounded input from them. And it may or may not change our decision on what we have for bylaws or zoning bylaws in either of our committees. But I think we're gonna get the best input we can from a committee without having us to be at every meeting and listen to it at our 3 publicized hearings that we take public input. They're gonna have their own meetings and their own input and talk to people. And I think we're gonna get a lot more valid data back this way. And understanding fully that I expect him to be biased. That's why I wanted him in there. I expect that.
I don't wanna say too much one way or the other on this, but if people are busy for whatever reasons, a lot of people don't get involved with certain things. They don't wanna get involved in town politics or things that affect them. It's kinda sad to see the low number of people that turn out for elections and town meetings like that. But the disheartening part of this whole process was the fact, not only yourselves, but other boards, but working on that bylaw for so long and having very few people even show an interest in it. And then all of a sudden, they come out of the woodwork after the fact. Can't cry over spilt milk, this is the way it happened. We gotta deal with the hand that was dealt us now. Hopefully, everything will come to fruition for the next town meeting, that committee can relate to the BOS, conservation and planning, and the next time around in June at our next town meeting, we can get something proposed on paper to the taxpayers that this is what everybody wants and see how it goes. Hopefully it'll all work out.
I hope so. I'm still waiting to see if our moratorium gets kicked back by the state, because I expect it to. I don't think they'll let it go again. I think we'll be running without a moratorium, without bylaws. Although by the time they kick it back, it'll be a short time. But we need to have some laws in effect, and we can always modify them in the future if people don't like portions and meet on those. But we need something
But
in effect.
on the up hand of this, now there's a bunch more people that are interested. And that's good.
Right.
You get more ideas and more input. So.
Well, my concern, the moratorium, is the state wants to see the towns making some effort and some work towards this. And despite the effort we've done, what they officially see in town meetings is this is tabled and not even voted on. So as far as the state's concerned, my guess would be, and this is a guess, that the towns had no effort on this. And I think that's bad. We need to get something on paper and get something voted in. And it can always be modified. You know, any portion that is not survived by the state, the rest still is in effect. So it doesn't hurt us to put something forward.
Good.
Okay. Following along in that same line of discussion, we have another notice of conflict of interest on this from one of the alternates on the committee, Hillary Boudreau. And she states, I am president of the Ruggles Lane PTO. I guess that would be conduct outreach to local businesses to secure donations to benefit activities organized to support students at Ruggles Lane School. And her conflict is she helps raise thousands of dollars yearly to benefit the students. So that, she's listing that as a conflict. I don't know if it is or it isn't, but.
No, without a financial gain, it shouldn't really be a conflict, but better safe than sorry. She's just
She's covered.
letting it be known that,
She does that.
Well, that's the purpose of those papers. If you
Yep.
have any doubt, fill it out.
shout it out, yep.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely. And nothing against Mr. Donahue, he's a hard-working family man. I'm not saying anything negative about him. I just want to make that clear.
Okay.
no one took it that way, Dennis.
Okay.
We have the April 1st town meeting, warrant, election warrants
You should have a, oh,
There.
signed.
Yep. We already set that date? Did we vote on the date and accept it?
A bunch of these to sign.
Is it by statute it's the first?
Pardon me?
Is it by statute that it's the first?
I don't know. I just want to
So
make sure.
typically
if
you
we-
guys set the town
if-
meeting, but not
If we need to,
the election.
so the April 1st should be a statutory date.
Yeah.
Okay, we got, Sam?
I was asking, I didn't know, when is the latest somebody can apply to be selected? Is there a date?
is it,
Date
yeah,
certain?
there's a deadline date
Oh, there is.
to take papers out.
Because they asked me, and I said I had no idea.
It was in, yeah, it was at 2 different times
Well,
already.
maybe this person didn't read the diary.
Do we want to fill this date in today as well, or no?
Yeah, I
So
guess,
what date may it be?
I guess we
I
can
don't
do.
know off the top of my head. I don't know.
Look it up.
Just-
All right. Well,
You should say
Yeah.
this, and I think it's today's date that we're signing it, right?
Fourth day of February.
Fourth, yep. So the 4th, and then February, the next line
I
down
told them I
below,
didn't know, so I figured somebody would know, yeah?
in February. And do we have to fill out, sign every copy? We do, right?
We had a whole
Yes,
bunch of
yes.
these.
Second email.
Well, let's split them up.
Right now.
You take a couple, I'll take a couple, we'll get them going. How many you got there? What'd
I
you
got
keep?
3.
3, I got 4, 5, here, have another one.
Please, Nick.
Last date of files, February 11th.
Here, do you put that on the website?
Yep.
Is it right, like on the front for election?
I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure it is.
I sometimes find it hard to find things.
If you find out now, I can write it down, I can email them.
Yeah. The last date of poll papers is this Thursday. Last date of tournament is next Monday.
Oh, so this Thursday, what's the
The
date?
7th.
Seven.
Okay, so I should tell them.
It's right under latest news, right on the front page.
Tuesday.
Lists all the boards and committees that are available for.
Now they can take papers out. And when do the papers have to be turned back in?
Monday, the 11th. They get
So
turned.
it's just over the weekend?
No, they've been available since
When was the first date?
first date that they were available was January 10th.
Or they can call the town clerk, and I'll give them the number, and the extension, and they can figure it out. Because some, well, I guess I'm only gonna own up for me, because I'm not sophisticated enough. I mean, I'm somewhat sophisticated with the internet, but I'm not as sophisticated enough, and maybe people my age who might be interested are equally unsophisticated and sophisticated. But I don't know. I still have a flip side.
Okay. You all set?
Yeah, just verify we got them all.
Okay, we have the rural schools advisory letter, is that in here?
Yeah, I think I forgot to print, just look at it, I just noticed I forgot to print it out. But this was, I believe I had forwarded this to your guys' email. Basically, it was, there's a letter, and I'll print this off after for you guys to sign. I'll leave upstairs for you to come in if you agree, but basically, part of the Rural Schools Commission, they're petitioning the governor about the foundation budget review, and they feel that even though they're saying that they took the recommendations of the budget, or the Foundation Budget Review Commission in the budget, they're basically saying, well, no, you didn't. You helped out charter schools. You didn't do anything to help the towns in the more actual rural areas of town, or of the state and central and western Mass. So they have a representative letter that they're trying to get of all the boards of selectmen from the rural towns to basically petition the governor to reconsider the modeling of the Chapter 70 allocation.
We need that.
So as long as you guys are in favor of supporting the letter, I'll let you guys look at it again. I'll leave a signature copy at Sandy's desk for you to come and sign.
Yeah, I saw that, but you sent out, and I saw some articles in the newspapers about it, and I think one of the things that concerned me was there really wasn't very much there for rural schools, and it was a small amount, but it was
There's
just a few dollars per student or something. It didn't really add up to very much.
Right, the way that they had kind of, the caveat wording that they put, it was rural and charter schools. So
Right.
a lot of that money was really going into charter schools, and they were kind of
Right.
putting it into that same line item, so.
And I think the voters made it pretty clear a few years ago about their positions on charter schools
Right.
and money, and apparently some of the powers to be didn't quite get the message, but I think
It's really kind of a backhanded way
I
of
don't think
just
the
saying
charter
that.
school should fall in under rural.
They don't care what
school
they
rate.
voted on, they're just gonna do what they want.
Right, they're trying to basically put up a front to say that, yeah, we're doing something for rural schools finally, and look at this money in our giant budget that's going into it, but nobody's seeing on the back end where it says charter
Right.
schools on it.
Right. So I think we'll just have to follow it and make sure that Senator Goldie and Representative Bertie know
Yep.
exactly where we're coming from on that. Particularly school transportation. Last year, we got a big increase, but that wasn't
Wasn't until the
set
Senate.
for every year. So
Right.
I think that that's another area, and I think that affects rural schools more than anything else, is the vast amount of transportation money that gets spent. We have a resignation from the 9/11 committee for Colleen Girton.
It was verbal, there was no letter.
Okay. There was a verbal notice. And I guess we can say thank you to Colleen for her work on that and all the other stuff, things that she does with the rescue squad and, on those issues. So we thank her for her service on that. And we have a request for appointment to the 9/11 committee from
Paul Murphy.
Paul Murphy, Sheldon Road. He's a veteran, post 2. He's retired from the Quabbin Regional School District. He's been a resident of Barry for 27 years, and he'd like to serve on the 9/11 Memorial Committee. What is the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to appoint Paul F. Murphy to the 9/11 Memorial Committee.
Okay, and I will second that. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. And we have a request here to use town property. And to use the town hall from the Woods Memorial Library for a family science program called Cosmic Kelly, and there will be no food served. They estimate 125 attendees. And that came from Stephanie Young, the librarian. What are the wishes of the board? She wants it on April the 17th from 5 to 8 p.m. We have any conflict with that time? We do not.
So this is use of the town building by another town entity. I'd make a motion, we approve the request to use the town property and waive the fee.
Okay, I will second. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We did have a second request to use town property
Okay.
come in today. It should be the back of your packet. It's for
Yeah.
Quabbin Youth Football. They just
Oh,
want to use it
that's
for
right.
a
I
board
think I
meeting.
did see that.
Yeah. Came in today, but they were looking for next week, so I wanted to just move it up to today's agenda.
Yeah, I saw that. Where was it?
So they just,
It should be in the back.
they just want to be in here, not in the Henry Woods.
I know.
Not in the,
They're looking
Woods
for,
building.
for town hall, not Woods building.
okay, so up here, okay. We don't have. a
No, I
fee
had
for
it
that,
here.
so
I
we
was
just
reading
allow
it.
the use.
I've already,
Do we have a room they can use for that on that day? 30 people?
Also,
Okay.
this is from the Quabbin Youth Football and Cheering Group, and Mary Markowski, chairperson. They wish to use the town hall on February 12th from 6 to 8 p.m. for a board meeting and a kickoff meeting. They estimate 30 people to attend. There will be no food served.
Make a motion to approve the request to use the town hall for Quabbin Youth Football and Cheer on February 12th, 6 to 8 p.m.
Okay, I will second that. Any in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have a wage authorization here from Fire Chief Robert Rogowski, for EMT firefighter Kyle, is it Gale?
Goalie.
Going, okay, and he's working 40 hours per week, 1677 proposed hourly salary, effective January 28th of this year, 1832, 40 hours per week. What is the pleasure of the board?
This is stuff that you know about and gone through with them, or?
Yeah, so, because he just got his paramedics, so
Make any other
they're
step?
gonna move him up a step, prior to his basically,
That was
what
both
was
of them.
designated as.
They both got that, or?
No, Kyle was the only one that got his paramedics license. But
Jason.
he's not a fully cleared to do on his own.
Right.
So this puts him into an intermediate position until the end of the fiscal year when he'll be clear. And at that point, he'll move up to the medic position, or medic firefighter as it was identified in the, so, Jason received his EMT license basic, so that's why he's, going to this step.
Is it the full license?
Yeah.
Excellent. Make a motion to approve both wage grade increases.
Okay, now second. Any discussion? Hearing none. I'll call for a vote in favor.
Aye.
Okay, and we have one for, did you do both or just one?
Both, it said both, yeah.
Okay, and we have one for Jason for that. And let's see, we have a request from Ed Yardley. I'll read it. And may I request permission to use the Selectmen's meeting rooms at the Henry Woods Building for meetings of a yet-to-be-formed Trails Committee, a non-governmental citizens group with a mission to develop trails in Barry, encourage public use of all outdoor facilities. This group would be self-selected interested citizens and would be invited by public announcement to join. If a Trails Committee were to be recommended by the new open space plan, the citizen group might well be the source of talent. I expect to kick off this effort, hoping that the group will outlive me. I assume that's kind of a rhetorical sort of comment. We would expect to use the Selectmen's meeting room on Wednesday evenings, the day when there were no scheduled town board or committee meetings. We realize that in case of conflict, town business would take precedence. Use of this space would be prearranged with your administrative assistant. Thank you for your consideration. It's signed by Ed Yardley. Ed, did you have anything?
No, I just want, I came in case you had concerns about a non-governmental group. Obviously, I'm trying to avoid all of the public meeting posting and all of that, because we don't think that that's necessary to just get an interested group doing something out there in the woods.
Okay.
So it'll be open to the public. It will be open to the public.
Yes.
Is this gonna be a regular scheduled meeting, or do you have any idea how often you're gonna meet on Wednesdays? It will be
I try for monthly.
monthly meetings. I know when we get into budget season, don't we get into Wednesdays?
Thursdays.
Thursdays?
Thursdays, yeah,
Okay,
meeting
that's
this
my only
year.
concern. All right, good. Well, I'd make a motion, we approve the use of the board meeting room on Wednesdays for Mr. Yagu and his soon-to-be group.
I will second that. Any other discussion? Do you have anything else you wish to add?
I think I've come before the board so many times promising things, it's about time I got going.
Well, this is still another promise, but we'll see. I said still another promise, though. We don't have the group yet.
That's correct.
You gonna vote?
I think
Yes.
so.
I'll call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. That's all we're covering for these things, right? And we don't have Hardwick?
On their way, next 15 minutes.
Do we have an executive session?
No.
I don't know if you want to wait for Matt. to do mine.
He asked that we wait for all of
Yeah,
them.
okay.
Okay.
I
that's fine.
believe, I'm looking at an email correspondence.
That's fine.
And this,
I thought he wanted to wait for all of them. I
Alright.
was trying to look at the correspondence being him and,
I'm fine with that. I just knew we were holding off on the fire chief's one, so.
yeah. What was the other one?
Mine.
What's that?
Mine.
Yeah. I think we'll give him the respect of waiting.
All right.
and this notice here is just for our information.
So we had originally had
On
been
the,
discussing the, we were gonna have the discussion with Harwick, New Braintree, and Peterson tonight, but due to the untimely passing of Steve Boudreau, Peter Sam kind of wasn't really in a position of meeting tonight, so
Okay.
we asked to delay it.
Okay, so we're just waiting on Hardwick at this point.
Right, and we're just
Did-
gonna discuss
Did you
it
have
tonight.
anything else you wanted to bring up at this time?
Selectmen's report
What?
and town administrator report. Can do those.
Yeah.
Um, It's just been very busy with budget right now, crunching numbers together and making sure everything fits and trying to get everything going with capital. It's really what a lot of my time and energy's been devoted the last few weeks, so. I did have a few things I was putting together for a report that was gonna go out today, and I can't think of one off the top of my head. OSHA regulations, that was one. So February 1st, the new OSHA regulations have officially come into play for public sector employees. So I've also been working on putting together a risk management plan for the town as required under that statute. So it's moving along. Not quite there yet, but just at least getting everything on paper. That's the first key point. And then getting that information out there once it is all squared away is gonna be the next step. So two big things been really working on a lot. So.
Okay.
Okay, and the finance committee players meeting this Thursday. Okay, I will try to be there. Okay. Then I guess we can declare a quick recess until our counterparts from Hardwick show up, unless you have anything else you wish to bring up at this point.
I don't, actually.
Okay, we'll take a quick break until they show up. I assume they'll be here soon.
I'm on the waning end of my
What?
I'm on the waning end of my cold, so I'm happy I made it in tonight. And that's apparently in the middle of his, so my last week and a half have not been productive.
which both come out of the formula grant funding, basically leaving a total assessment of about $71,000. This is using 2020's proposed budget so far, but this would show what the 2020 split would be between both towns, where it would be basically 51,325 would be borne by the town of Barry, and then 19,675 would be borne by Hardwick in the form of an assessment. So that was basically the proposal that we came up with for your consideration.
If I'm right, these numbers are up from a year ago, aren't they? Wasn't the participation lower, and so the numbers are coming up down there?
Right.
Which is good.
For-
I mean,
yeah.
which is good. We're
Yeah.
getting, I thought the participation was more like 18%. We talked about it a year ago, or 20%. So that's good to see that climb. That means you're getting a lot more people like it and are getting involved, which the idea is if it's a bigger place, more people, allows a better budget, lets them do more and gets more participation. And I like it. I like to see the numbers
We
are up.
do too. And the chair of the Council on Aging for Hardwick attends our select board meetings. And every time she is just
Good.
really happy and reporting back about the activities and the increased interest.
I talked about hoping you guys had a portion of contribution like this to help offset some of our budget. But my inclination is to probably add to the budget. We'll see, well, this will be with the, she'll get the look from Claire. I'd rather see, maybe some of this help lessen our payout, but I would like to see the ability to add money to the senior center for other programs and other uses and give more to the seniors, is my opinion. And it's just an opinion, you know what that's worth? But that's my hope, that by having more money come in, we can allow more there. And not necessarily just cut back on what we spend, but see more for the seniors, which has been my goal of this, really from the beginning. So I'm happy to see the number come up.
Teresa, what's our current assessment?
7,500 was the
Thank
first
you.
year assessment, and that hasn't been modified.
But the
since.
block grant was also included.
Plus-
So on
yeah,
top of
plus the
that,
grant,
on top of
right,
that. So
but-
it was about 14,000.
Right.
So this is 19 plus the block grant, so we're really going from 15,000 to 19 plus the block grant.
7,
Yeah.
sorry. So 26.
But,
So we're gonna need to be about
but
that.
we have a lot
Special
more
town
people.
meeting, we had increased
Right,
the amount
Assessment.
with what we could.
just so that we're comparing numbers
Yes.
and we're looking at it.
Yes.
So we're really going from, say, 15 to about 26.
With the
Including-
block grant,
with
with the block
grants.
grant, yes.
Okay.
With the block
Yes, yes.
And it wasn't quite at a full participation level this year, as far as percentage-wise. It was still under this year. The first year was not even considered.
It is.
But that's why I proposed it, just because I'm trying to be reasonable for the Barry residents, say we don't incur the expense. But now I'm kind of of the opinion, if we've incurred the expense, maybe we get some money back off it. But I'd like to see us be able to put more toward the
Right.
senior center and allow more activities, and that may draw more of them.
Yeah,
Which will
it's-
increase the grant money. And
So in FY18, our final approved budget was 65,700. The proposed FY20 budget is 80,151 at this
Excellent.
point. So we are
Good.
looking, we are
Excellent.
moving
That's
more
what I
money
want to
into
see.
it.
Excellent.
So you're looking internal, for your own finances, you're looking about a $15,000 increase year to year, 14 and some change.
Well, 19's budget was 77,211.
Okay.
So we did do an
So like
increase in
3.
recognition of the 75
Okay.
that we got in.
Okay,
But that would move, it's another 3,000. I mean,
okay.
obviously, if we go off of this assessment, any increases that we have would impact both parties, so we wouldn't want it to just do it in a vacuum and say, hey, we decided to throw another $15,000 into the senior center budget and expect you guys to just take on the
No, the intent, my proposal intent isn't to try to raise their contribution as well. It's just saying that
Mhm.
if it allows another program down there or something, something to help with the busing or whatever other, I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think of her monthly newsletters?
Awesome.
Unbelievably informative. There's a lot going on. It's well thought out. I'm very impressed with what she does down there. Very impressed. And I'd like to encourage that. And she was, last I knew, getting them some tablets and computers and trying to get people to learn, which is good. And just, I like it.
Okay, Andrew, what action do we need?
Well, if you guys are on board with this this formula, the way that this is proposed, we can really kind of formalize this into an amendment to the agreement.
Mhm.
And then, if you want the next, we're supposed to meet to discuss the building agreement, hopefully on the 4th, if that date works for you guys, and we can come back to the table, make sure the wording's correct, and vote on it then. But I think the main thing is, if we want to make sure we want to move into this direction, both boards are on board with moving in that direction.
And given that he's already said this is increasing the budget as is, I'm happy with that. So I'd rather see the budget bump up with that contribution, not just our costs come down. And that's what it's done, so I'm good with that.
You
Okay.
good?
Yeah, I think the only issue is if we sign this before town meeting, what,
It's gonna go in our next year's budget, it's not this year.
right, I agree, but, if it doesn't pass at town meeting, what happens in that instance?
They don't typically they don't go line by line item to cut this.
Agreed, but I'm just,
If it fails, we can come back to the table. and
Okay.
We
discuss
just come
it.
back.
Yeah, we'll be back.
We
at the
have to,
table.
if it fails town meeting, we have to
Yeah.
negotiate it. Same thing with the school budget.
I
If
Say,
can't
hey,
it's-
they only-
think of every possible worst-case scenario, so I'm
Right.
just
That's
putting
right.
it out there.
Well, it's the same thing if the school budget fails, wholeheartedly, they're gonna have to come back, and then if it doesn't work, then we'll go to an arbitrator,
Okay.
but the
Then it
same
goes
thing,
to the state.
yeah. But
Claire?
they gotta try to work it out first.
This is Claire Adamitis, chairperson of our finance committee.
The other question I'm thinking about is on the transportation, the buses and stuff. Does Hardwick have their own?
Yes, we have our own money.
Okay.
That's the one that we're
I
looking to
wasn't sure
move
how that
towards.
was handled,
Yeah.
if that was included in this or not.
We're actually looking to move from having two different services to having one common service, and it would
Yeah.
actually be Hardwick service that we're looking to adopt, so.
Can I just ask a question kind of off the, related but not related? Are you guys looking at possibly allowing other towns to use your, because it is such a great center, and just kind of reiterating what you heard from some of our other members, Gloria, I kind of wish I was a little older so I could take advantage of it, but, she raves about it, and so the fact that you have such a nice center where other municipalities don't, have you guys looked at the possibility of having other towns participate with you?
Definitely open to it.
I don't think we've officially
Okay.
looked into it, but I think that, why don't you come on up, Eileen, come on. Have a chair right here with me, I'll move over. Come on over.
I have been approached by,
Have my chair, come on.
No, come right up.
Come sit,
another
get comfortable.
community, but, they're still in the works. They need to talk to town
The comfy
administrator
chairs up here.
and their selectmen on that. One was New Braintree had approached, and then I did get some calls from Peterson as well. So because they don't have a center, they don't even have anything up there. But they did give me a call and were asking some questions. So that may be another possibility.
What's our capacity for more members then, and more people coming in?
The building capacity is 154, I think it is.
Okay, and so when we see 166, that's not typically all there at once.
Right, right.
And that, well, you see what I'm saying, I mean, the concern is that we get overdoing, it's my other worry.
No, no,
Won't be a problem.
no, because it's spread out over the week. Every day's different, so it's not always the same
So
people
that's a
every day.
that's a weekly count?
That would be a monthly count.
Okay, so you got plenty of room.
That's what I'm just, see, I don't know, I'm
I believe.
embarrassed to say, I
There's
haven't
actually-
gone down there for any
unduplicated
meal
swipes
times to
over
see what's
one
going on. I
year.
work
Okay,
typically
so-
during the
yeah,
daytime,
That
so
must have been here.
I'd love to have gone down and check it out and see what goes on on a regular basis. I just haven't
Anytime,
I might now over the
Anytime.
winter. I still have some time this
we're
winter,
there.
so.
You're
so I
all
may.
invited.
But so far to this
We're
point, I've
actually,
been working.
Wednesday, is it Wednesday? No, the 14th, we're having a pasta bar. So you're more than welcome to come down.
Let me know when you do that line dancing again. I missed that.
Okay, I guess we're open to it, it's just up to the other
That-
tus.
it's usually a good event.
approach us,
A lot of
but
folks.
We're certainly,
I'm gluten-free, so I can't do
open to
that.
it.
I'm I'm thinking about it.
I
from
can't
the
have gluten,
mix.
so.
You're gonna
Oh.
have
I can't,
normal
but I
fixed
gotta stop
costs
in,
for
I
the
just gotta
building,
get
like
down there, I'm trying.
Paying for the building, the
We have
heating,
nothing
all
else
of
going
that
on.
stuff, and if you have a broader population offset the cost, that's gonna, you know, free up some of, maybe potentially some of Barry's funds or whatever to offer
Mhm.
more programs
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. what's
Yeah,
that?
so we would bring them in, you know, that, the fact that we're setting this baseline of percentage usage, it kind of really sets the baseline for any other towns coming in to
Sure.
say, you know, we'll start you off at, you know, what we think it would be your contribution for the first year, and then after that, this would basically be at the end of the calendar year, we'd look at this and enact it into the next year's fiscal year budget, so.
So do you envision that once we sign this updated agreement, that this would be an annual review we would continue to do and
Yes.
kind of
I
have
would
the
think
same
so, yeah.
conversation?
Yeah, that's still in
I
the,
believe it's in the agreement.
Okay,
Yes.
Yeah.
great.
Renew it
And
annually.
in regards to the closeout at the end,
Mhm.
and, money's left over,
Mhm.
and so there were two options on how to deal with that, whether it be reimbursement or whether it be, a reduced assessment
Okay.
the following fiscal year, right?
Mhm.
So, should we be talking about that or include language?
Yeah, well, let's
In
include
the
language in
agreement.
that, because we were discussing that on the other agreements, but I do think that that is important, that for any, any excess funds to be
Not that there
used to
isn't-
reduce the assessment proportionally, so, yeah.
Okay. Did you have anything else you wish to?
No, that's it.
Just to thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
It's been a great experience, to be honest with you, because we were hated when we first put this in place.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, because you were closing down what you had?
Yes,
Yeah.
and she comes in now and actually admits, I didn't think it would work, I didn't, and she's just.
It's those
praising
mean
us for
people
doing
in
it.
Barry, you gotta stay away from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those selectmen
But
are
she's
awful
very-
to deal with.
She's very happy.
Yeah.
Good.
Part of it is socializing though, you know, you're socializing with just your community, but then you're also reaching out and having exposure to different programs that we couldn't offer or, you know, so I think it's a
Right.
huge benefit for
Yeah.
our population.
Everybody
And,
involved.
and
For
all the
everybody, absolutely.
resources that have been made available.
Absolutely.
But just
and
social contacts,
the-
just constant social
expanding
contacts.
their social
Yeah.
network, and that's, it's key.
And learning how to get on Facebook and do it,
Right?
right?
Well, we certainly have a very good director, and she's been working very hard to make sure it goes.
We do
Well-
hear
Trying.
good things about that
Good,
as well,
good.
so.
And
Thank
we
you.
thank you for
Trying.
that. We thank you for that.
I think we all appreciate what you do.
We
Thank you.
certainly do.
You can like me on Facebook.
There you go.
Barry COA.
Okay.
All right.
So I guess we don't need any votes tonight, it just,
Yeah, we'll get the wording in place, make sure.
Start-
so that way
start
we
the
can-
wording and get that done.
We can sign that newer agreement next time.
Okay, very good.
Excellent.
Well, we thank you
Glad
for
it's
coming
working.
to our
Thank you.
meeting.
Thank
and,
you very much.
So I guess we all start talking to Peterson next. huh?
New Braintree.
Wait, New Braintree too? Okay.
Okay.
They-
So when you
There
see-
was a more of a push.
Well, but
Yeah.
the point is that they're asking if we're open to more towns, and if we are, then we'd say, yeah, if we see people from other towns, why not talk to them and encourage them to, open a dialogue?
Yeah, and they can contact us for a reference.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank
If
you.
you're part of it, they can contact you directly.
Thank
Maybe
you
they,
for-
and they can stop in anyways,
Thank
any
you for
individual
coming
can
in.
stop in and check out the senior center whenever they want,
Yeah.
right?
Thank
They don't
you.
have to be from the town to go have a meal there, so.
Okay,
Very
we're all
Have a good
set.
night, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Eileen. Okay, do we have any
Glad.
other great business to come before this ponderous board tonight? Hearing,
No, but let's linger on that for a second and take a second to thank you, Charlie, because you're the one that started that and got that going. You did a good job with that.
Yep.
And people should know that. That was Charlie's meeting with them to start that. They wanted to meet with him privately, one-on-one, because this was so touchy with their town and stuff, and it's gone very well. I think they did a
Well,
good
thank
job
you.
working it out.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Very happy for how it's turning
And
out.
on that note, I'll look for the appropriate motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, and we can just, in favor, go.
Aye.